Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's event, Lunch with Mia, about pet insurance. My name is Patty Dorn, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's event. So lots of Marylanders have pets, and if you are a pet owner, you may have purchased or you may be considering purchasing pet insurance. As with any insurance product, it's important to understand what you are purchasing and to carefully consider the costs and benefits, and to understand how that insurance product works. Pet insurance is not health insurance for your pet, as the video that we're going to watch in a minute will explain. While most of us consider our pets to be members of our family, legally they're personal property. So pet insurance is considered a type of property and casualty insurance. So that's like your automobile or homeowners insurance policies, as opposed to a health insurance policy. So today, myself and team members from our Consumer Education and Advocacy Group will be helping you understand some of the basics about pet insurance. A few housekeeping rules today. This event is being recorded. Please leave your phones and computers on mute for this event. And if you're not presenting, please keep your camera off. If you have questions today, please put them in the chat box along with contact information, or email them to me at patricia.dorn@maryland.gov. So we will not have a Q&A session at the end. The questions are going to be answered after the event offline. So you're going to put them in the chat with your contact information so I can get back to you, or you can just email them to me at patricia.dorn@maryland.gov, and that email address will be in the chat. So either I or someone else from the MIA will get back to you with an answer. So first up today, we're going to have a video. This is narrated by Nathan Kemp about pet insurance.
In today's video, we are going to learn the basics of pet insurance. Pet insurance is not health insurance for your pet, although at times it sure sounds like it is. While many consider their pets to be part of the family, legally they are considered property, therefore they fall under property and casualty insurance. So what does that mean? Just like your auto and homeowners insurance, most pet insurance policies have a deductible, which is an amount you must pay before the insurance company pays anything under the policy. Typically, pet insurance policies require you pay the vet for service and then submit the bill to the insurance company for reimbursement. Be sure to review your policy to determine if there are limitations or restrictions regarding the amount you will be reimbursed. For example, some policies only pay for the reasonable cost of medically necessary treatment, which may be less than what you paid for the treatment. The cost of your policy will depend on what the policy covers. The policy also may have caps on the amount it will pay. Also, check to determine if the policy excludes pre-existing and breed-specific conditions. Remember that just like other property insurance policies, your premium for a pet insurance policy may increase as a result of a claim. If you have any questions regarding pet insurance, you should talk with a trusted insurance advisor. You can also contact the Maryland Insurance Administration at 1-800-492-6116 with your questions.
All right. Thanks, Nathan, for that video, and I hope that was helpful. Next up, we're going to go through some scenarios about pet insurance. We do find a lot of times that consumers learn well through these scenarios, a question and answer format. And so welcome Mary Jo Rogers and Gia Wilkerson. They're going to go through pet insurance scenarios.
Good afternoon, Patty. Tanya just decided to adopt a 2-year-old cat from the local shelter, but she has never been a pet owner and is worried about the associated expenses. Tanya's friend told her to get pet insurance, but she is not sure how that works and if the expense is worth it. Mary Jo, what exactly is pet insurance?
Pet insurance is an insurance policy that reimburses you for certain medical expenses in the event your pet has a covered illness or injury. It can help to lessen the overall cost of expensive veterinary bills by covering either entirely or in part the cost of certain veterinary procedures and treatments. The benefits, including what services are covered and how much of the cost is covered, will depend upon the terms of the policy you purchase. Generally, each policy will require a monthly premium and may include a deductible, coinsurance, or an annual limit or maximum, certain exclusions, and oftentimes a lifetime limit.
Okay, you mentioned coinsurance. Exactly what is coinsurance?
Coinsurance is the percentage of the total allowed cost that the pet owner is responsible for paying out of pocket for an appointment or covered service. So let's say, for instance, if policy Tanya chooses says the insurer will pay 80% of the allowed cost when her cat gets covered veterinary care, Tanya would be responsible for the difference, or coinsurance of 20%. Coinsurance can, based on the terms of your policy, vary based on the type of covered service. And if multiple services are provided, there may be a separate coinsurance for each one.
Okay, you also mentioned deductible. What is a deductible?
The deductible is the amount the policyholder needs to pay out of pocket before the insurer makes its payment for a covered service. In the event of a covered claim, Tanya would have to pay the deductible that she opted for when she took out the policy. Deductibles usually range anywhere from $50 to as much as $1,000. Depending upon the policy, can either be an annual deductible that applies per calendar year or apply to each claim. Generally, the higher the deductible, the lower the premium, but the lower the deductible, the more she would be reimbursed for covered costs on a claim. Be sure to read your policy documents, including the declaration page, to determine the amount of your deductible.
Can a pet insurance policy have both coinsurance and a deductible?
Yes. Many policies will have both coinsurance and a deductible. Again, depending upon the terms of the policy, the insured may need to pay both coinsurance and a deductible for a single claim.
Now, what is the annual coverage limit?
An annual coverage limit is the maximum total amount you can be reimbursed by the insurer for covered claims over a 12-month period. It starts when the policy renews. Typically, you can choose limits from $5,000 to unlimited. A lower limit will reduce the cost of the premium, but a higher limit can give you more of a financial cushion during the year.
So, Mary Jo, I am not a pet owner. Can you tell me, how does the pet insurer pay the veterinarian? Is it like health insurance? Does the veterinarian send the bill to the insurer?
It will depend upon the terms of the policy, which will describe the process for making a claim and how claims are settled, for example, paid out. But generally, pet insurance does not work like health insurance, and the veterinarian would not send the bill to the insurer for payment. Instead, Tanya would be responsible for paying the vet bill up front and submitting a claim to the insurer for possible reimbursement. The reimbursement amount she is eligible for would be based, again, on the language of the policy, and any coinsurance and or deductible owed would be deducted before she is paid. The insurer will evaluate the claim, and if approved, will either deposit the funds into Tanya's account or send her a check by mail.
The cat Tanya is thinking of adopting appears to have some skin irritation around its eyes. She is not sure what the treatment will be and how much it will cost. Does pet insurance cover skin issues?
It will depend upon the language of the policy. Though a standard pet insurance policy generally will cover many accidents and illnesses, It also may have exclusions, which are conditions and or services that will not be covered by the policy. Tanya will need to read her policy carefully to see what is covered and what is excluded. Pre-existing or hereditary conditions will likely be excluded from the policy though.
What if Tanya just doesn't tell the insurer about this cat's existing skin irritation and gets the treatments? How would they ever know it was pre-existing?
Generally, pet insurers will require a health checkup for the pet and impose a waiting period before coverage kicks in, becomes effective. Typically, policies will define a pre-existing condition to include any condition that was present before the end of the waiting period, even if it wasn't formally diagnosed by a veterinarian. If signs or symptoms were present before the policy started, there will be no coverage for that condition. The waiting period will vary from insurer to insurer. For illnesses, the waiting period is usually between 14 and 21 days.
My neighbor Judy has 3 dogs. Jenga is 8 years old, Tucker is 4 years old, and Blue is 2 years old. She has to administer flea and tick medication and heartworm medication to all 3 dogs every month. The wellness visits, annual shots, and preventative medications are expensive. Can all 3 dogs be covered under the same policy, or does pet insurance cover these type of visits?
Generally, pet insurance policy only covers medical expenses for one pet. So Judy will need a separate policy for each of her 3 dogs. The policy premiums typically vary based on the breed and the age of the dog. Generally, policies for older dogs will have a larger premium than policies for younger dogs, and policies for larger dogs will possibly also have a higher premium than for smaller dogs. When choosing a policy for each of her dogs, Judy must be clear about what it covers. Coverages will vary between different pet insurance policies, though typically all will have exclusions. Most standard pet policies exclude preventive care such as flea and tick medications or heartworm medications. However, there are insurers that will offer preventative care coverage for an additional premium.
John purchased a Great Dane puppy. The breeder recommended he purchase pet insurance to help with the cost of the puppy vaccinations and spay or neutering. The breeder told him the puppy will need his second set of shots and his ears cropped. John is looking into pet insurance and is wondering if puppy vaccines are covered under the policy.
Each insurance policy will provide different coverages depending upon the options and endorsements selected. So it is important to read the terms of the policy before purchasing it. Generally, though, a standard policy will not cover wellness visits or puppy vaccines. John may want to see if the insurer that he chooses offers a wellness plan or preventive care plan for an additional premium.
What does preventative care even mean?
It will depend upon the terms of the policy, but generally, dog preventive care is anything that is done medically speaking to prevent disease, such as vaccines, heartworms, flea and tick control.
Okay, so what about having the puppy's ears cropped?
Cropping a puppy's ears is generally treated as a cosmetic procedure, and as a result, is not something that would be covered under many pet insurance policies.
The breeder recommended that John purchase a pet accident plan because Great Danes are a little clumsy and accident prone. What is a pet accident plan?
There are insurers in the marketplace that offer an accident-only plan for pets. Depending upon the terms of the policy, this type of policy can cover injuries such as swallowed objects, poison injection, bee stings, broken bones, burns, bruises, and lacerations. It may also reimburse John for diagnostic tests such as x-rays and MRIs, blood work, as well as prescription medication, stitches, and hospitalization related to the accident.
Sylvia has a 4-year-old pit bull named Duke. She has had him since he was a puppy. He has developed a lump on his hind leg. She is afraid it may be cancer since Duke's father had cancer. Sylvia has had a pet insurance policy since he was a puppy, but she is not sure if cancer treatment will be something that is covered under the policy. Mary Jo, is cancer covered under Sylvia's pet insurance policy?
While there are pet insurance policies that do cover cancer treatments, it depends upon the terms of the policy. So Sylvia should read her policy carefully or contact her insurer for more information. Even if the policy covers the cancer treatment, Sylvia will be subject to any applicable deductibles and coinsurance. However, pet insurance generally doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. So if a pet develops cancer before the policy is purchased, the treatment cost likely will not be covered.
Mary Jo, it seems like there is a lot to learn about pet insurance. How can I find out more about the best pet insurance and what questions we should ask?
A good place to begin is by asking yourself, am I looking for a pet health discount plan or a pet insurance policy? Your vet may offer a discount plan that will qualify you for a discount when you take your pet in for care. For instance, a checkup might cost $100, but as a member of the plan, you would only pay $80. Discount plans often require an annual or a monthly fee. A pet insurance policy is not issued by the vet, but by an insurer and can provide coverage for specific conditions or services. The type and amount of coverage, again, will depend upon the terms of the policy purchased. Each policy covers one pet. Your premium is the amount you pay for the policy, and the insurer may offer monthly or other installment payment options. The insurer will pay for covered services for your pet, less any deductible or coinsurance the pet owner is responsible for. When shopping for pet insurance, it's a good idea to ask, what is the waiting period for illness? Waiting period for an accident? What does the plan cover? Are wellness visits covered? Vaccines and dental care? Heartworm testing or preventative? Does the plan cover prescription medications? What is the deductible? Keep in mind, if your pet is aging or you bring them to the vet often, it might make sense to choose a lower deductible and a higher monthly payment, since this may reduce your overall costs if your pet needs more care. Does the policy have an accident or illness cap? Many pet insurers have a cap, that's a limit, on how much it will pay over a period, whether it be annual or lifetime, but typically don't have caps on specific treatments or illnesses. It's also a good idea to comparison shop. Check the Better Business Bureau website and read the reviews pet owners have posted about the pet plans they have used, pros and cons. In summary, there is no way to anticipate what will happen in the future. While you can't predict when or how your pet will get sick or how much it will cost, pet insurance can protect you against unexpected veterinary bills.
Thank you, Mary Jo, for all of that wonderful information. It looks like my family and I have some work to do before we get a pet.
Definitely.
Thanks, Gia. Thanks, Mary Jo. So next up, Mary Jo is going to step us through 5 tips about pet insurance.
Pet insurance tips. First, make sure you understand any pre-existing conditions and breed-specific condition exclusions that may be in your policy. You will need to read your policy, take a look at it, and see if there are exclusions for pre-existing conditions. And these may be conditions such as Tanya's situation where she knew there was a pre-existing skin irritation, or it can be an unknown pre-existing condition such as cancer. Again, if these were pre-existing before the inception of the insurance policy, there may not be any coverage. Also, a lot of pet insurance policies exclude coverage for breed-specific conditions. For example, German Shepherd dogs tend to be prone to problems with their hips and hip dysplasia. If you own a German Shepherd dog and you purchase pet insurance, you may want to read to see if problems with hips on German Shepherd dogs are excluded. Because if your dog does develop hip dysplasia, there might not be any coverage for that expense. Next slide. Generally, pet insurance policies do not cover preventive care like vaccines or wellness visits. Again, it's important to read the terms of your policy. If you are looking for some coverage for preventive care like vaccines and wellness visits, you may want to ask the insurer if such coverage is available, and if it is, to find out what that premium will be, and then weigh the costs of the care versus the cost of the premiums to make a decision which would be best for you and your pet. Next slide, please. If you want to insure multiple pets, you will usually need a separate policy for each. And again, this is correct. If you have multiple pets, even if they are all the same type of pet, say you have multiple dogs or multiple cats, you will have to get a separate policy for each. And oftentimes each policy for each of those individual pets will be rated, and the premium will be based on certain factors. Again, the age of the dog or cat, the breed of the pet, and whether it's, again, it can even be something as the size of the pet that will impact your premium. So that is why each pet will have to have their own separate policy. Next slide, please. Again, it's important to know your annual coverage limit. Typically, this ranges from $5,000 to an unlimited amount. This will depend on what coverage you've purchased. The higher the coverage limit, the higher the premium. So an insurance policy that has an annual coverage limit of $5,000 will be less expensive than a pet insurance policy that has an unlimited coverage amount. Now, these coverage limits may be either annual or for the life of the pet. So that depends on your policy. So you should read the terms of the policy or contact the insurer if you do not know which applies to your policy specifically. Next slide, please. Typically, you pay your vet directly and submit the bill to your insurer for reimbursement. Again, pet insurance is not health insurance for your pet. Although they are members of your family, they are considered property. So pet insurance is a property and casualty insurance policy, which means that you will probably need to pay the vet bill upfront and submit for reimbursement, and payments will be then issued depending on whether or not it is a covered claim, and it will also depend on any deductibles and coinsurance, which may be deducted from that reimbursement before it is sent to you. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If we haven't answered your questions or provided the information you were looking for, you can reach out to us with additional questions. Again, you can send them to Patty at patricia.dorn@insurance.maryland.gov. You can also obtain additional information on our website. And if you are having a problem with a pet insurance policy, you can file a complaint and we will look into the issues and provide a response to your complaint. You can call us at 1-800-492-6116 or 410-468-2000. You can file complaints online at our website. Again, that's insurance.maryland.gov. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mary Jo. That was great information. I just want to say real quick, if you put a question in the chat, please make sure that you put contact information in there as well so I can get back to you. Otherwise, just feel free to go ahead and use my email and send me the question via email. I do want to thank everyone who attended today's event. I do hope it was helpful. If you want to help us evaluate the quality and the content of today's event, if you can click on the link in the chat, Joyce Peach is going to put a link in the chat. And if you could fill out a brief survey, that helps us understand if you've had your questions answered and how we can help you more in the future with these events. Again, thanks for everyone who attended today's event. We are going to have our next lunch with Mia on August 9th at 12 p.m. at noon. And so that's going to be Lunch with Mia, College Students and Insurance. We're going to cover auto insurance. We're going to cover renters insurance and health insurance as it relates to college students. So parents of those going off to college next year or college students themselves, we do encourage you to attend, learn a little bit about renters insurance, auto insurance, if you're going to be living in another state, something like that, or, health insurance, how you get health insurance as a college student. So again, thanks for attending today's event. The recording of today's event will be available on our website by early next week. You can find all of our upcoming events on our website, insurance.maryland.gov. You can also subscribe to our outreach calendar and have that information delivered right to your inbox. And that is on the front page of our website as well. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. So again, I just want to say thank you. Thanks everyone for attending. If you want, please fill out that brief survey. It's super helpful for us. Don't forget about our other lunch with Mia. It's on the 8th, so August 8th coming up shortly. And thanks for attending. Hope to see you guys all soon at a future event. Thanks so much.